I believe I'm probably live. Looks like it, yep. So just going to share the link to the social media pages. What's going on here? Why did this break get brought up? Yeah, all right. Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot this thing takes a screen capture. I should have been looking at the camera. It's all good. I'll make one later. Okay. Yeah, I was looking down. It's all good. It's all good. Hope everyone's doing fine today on Good Friday. Good Friday. It's a Good Friday. Yeah, that's another thing actually before I get into things is with Easter weekend, right? And everyone's supposed to, self-isolate and stay away from each other, and even your thought leaders in the media are saying don't you dare get together with family. Well, I wonder how many Canadians are actually going to follow through with that and obey the orders or the edicts, right? Okay, let's share that. Facebook. Done. Minds. Taking a sec here to load. Okay, let's do it on Twitter then first. There we go. Just a little bit slow to load. So let's close that up. Close up the Twitter. Got to keep the, hey, what's going on this morning there, gentlemen? Let me see. So we got Bernard Hutchinson. Hey, Ben, happy Easter if you're so inclined. Yes, I most certainly am inclined, for sure. And happy Easter to you as well and your family. Doing great, John. Good to hear. Good to hear. I am as well. Keep it real. Welcome to the New World Order, one world communist government. You're going to get the mark of the beast, really. The whole 666, right? That's the thing. Doesn't necessarily mean that it represents an actual number per se, like 666. It just means it can be used as a metaphor, right? A lot of those stories they speak in metaphors. See what's going on down here. So we see, okay, there's 16 that have joined already. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Let's see. Not long, they're already rolling out Toronto. How long before the heat of summer brings out the masses and the army to control us? Yeah, that's, like I say, this is all going to come to a head at some point in time, and we're going to see just how long Canadians are willing to be cooped up. Yeah. Keep it real, keep it real. Yeah. George Firth, doing great. Working the oil patch gives me lots of extra days off, no doubt. Well, thanks for being out there doing what you can do. And yeah, I know, like I was reporting on yesterday, they're saying, just in the near interim, possibly 25% unemployment rate for the boys and girls, the men and women, I should say, out in the patch. And as if, yeah, you folks haven't been going through enough difficult times as it is. And then to have this, right, added layer of crap heaped up on top of you. It's not good. It's not good, folks. That's for sure. That is for certain. Now, I'm not sure if I want to use, yeah, we'll go back to this one. It's definitely lots of stuff to cover. Most of it, if you notice by the title, the cost, but that's the thing. So definitely going to be some economics in this one, but I mean, there's many ways that we're going to be incurring costs, right? Social costs, the cost to our liberties, right? And of course, those economic costs. The kind of costs that those in the media aren't really talking about. Not much, anyways. Everybody, or most people in the media, just seem to be too busy just repeating and regurgitating what the politicians, the ruling class, are saying. All right, so I got that all done. Still working in construction, right on. John Ziegelbauer, Trudeau doesn't seem to be in a hurry to get things running again. No, and actually that's something. Actually, now that you brought that up, Jason Smith, let me just actually might as well go straight to it. And like I say, I apologize again because with this particular streaming software that I'm currently using, I can't. Well, I mean, it's probably possible to share the screen. I just not familiar with it enough as of yet to know how to do it. But yeah, so there was this article out of the Post Millennial. Of course, it was reported on all the other media outlets too. But I like to use if I can use some of these alternative media outlets, to reference the articles because basically they're just copy and paste and like whether it's Associated Press, the Canadian Press, or Reuters and stuff. But just basically talking about what you're alluding to is Canadian News breaking is what it says. Trudeau says quarantine is new normal until a vaccine is found. Now, two things struck out at me by hearing that, right? Now, number one, first and foremost, obviously is, well, then this is going to be, it's going to be a while yet because from what I'm hearing from the so-called experts or those who should be in the know in terms of, potential vaccine is it could be up to 12 to 18 months. So a year to year and a half out from now before there's even such thing as a vaccine. Now, of course, that's still, just guesswork, speculation. There's no way that they can know that for certain. And there might already be options out there available as we're hearing, some of these, the malaria drug, right? So there's still potential, like I say, that it doesn't last that long. But if you go by what they're suggesting so far, you're looking at a new normal, living, in lockdown and quarantine, forced, I'll add, for upwards of a year and a half, right? That's huge. And then, like I say, the flip side, the other aspect of this revelation that's coming out is until a vaccine is found. Well, what are we getting to? I think what they're kind of alluding to now, and this will eventually, like I say, it'll all come to light eventually. They just don't want to get everyone, I suppose, hyped up overly, in regards to the vaccine. Right now, they already have everyone in a heightened state of fear and alert, just, trying to seek protection from this coronavirus or COVID-19. But if this is the new normal until a vaccine is found, is Trudeau suggesting, and this is where it's going to run into the issue of, once again, government using force as a means to an end. Is it to suggest that the only way we can get back to normal is if everyone is forced to take these vaccines, right? I would like to know, is that kind of what you're alluding to there, Trudeau? Is that you're going to force all Canadians, right? That forced vaccination. I hear lots of people that are on the left side of that political spectrum who are big fans and advocates because CBC has been running articles like that for years now. Every once in a while, periodically, you'll get this article where how they talk, deride, insult, and basically call anyone that doesn't want to have government sticking needles in their arm, basically call them all conspiracy theorists, right? And now, like I've said many times in my past videos and streams, I'm not against vaccines entirely, but as an adult, yes, of course, I should be the one that gets to make that ultimate decision of whether I want someone to stick some needle in my arm and put something into my body that obviously there's, unless I'm a chemist myself or a microbiologist, how do I know, right? Sorry, I just don't trust people quite that readily, nor should anyone, because we know how corrupt people can be, and especially those who want to go into government. So once again, not making any claims as to whether that will be the case or not, but it does seem, or this kind of alludes to that suggestion that, yeah, the new normal, and I'm sure think about how many Canadians would be more than willing, even those that when those articles say the anti-vaxxer crowd, right? How many of them would be like, well, if I don't do it, what, you're going to remain in quarantine or lockdown? Is that the only way you're going to get out of jail free? Or get out of jail is by, submitting to the vaccine? That is a big question that's still, up in the air. And I'm pretty sure the rest of us would like to know. I, in particular, would like to know. Because like I say, I'm not just going to, stick my arm out or however they want to do these vaccines on my shoulder. I'm just not going to willy-nilly allow anyone to put something in my body against my permission or against my will. So there's that, right? There is that we still have yet to contend with. But, since we're not exactly at that point yet, let's kind of move that down the road a little bit. But once again, keep that in mind, folks. because that's something that it seems like it might be coming down the pipe. Actually, what does everyone think about that? I'm just curious what the opinions of people in the chat are in terms of forced vaccination, because I know that's a very divisive topic, and people do take a pretty strong stance on either side. Me, like I say, I'm kind of in the middle ground there, which is like I'm not against vaccines, but I am against anything that's forced. As a libertarian, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm against anything where anyone forces me into anything, right? So, okay, let's see what everyone else is saying. Consider myself lucky. Right on. Then you must make pretty good money, because some people aren't considering themselves lucky, right? Actually, my wife was telling me, you got some of the people that are coming through the checkout, and, well, this is my last day. Probably a lot of those non-essential government workers, right? I would assume these are the kind of people, like I say, well, this is my last day or whatever, and they're going to go home and get that $2,000 a month. Tax-free, right? $2,000 take home. That's pretty good coin. Like, unless you're, like I say, in the upper middle class or the top 1%, then that's not much. It's just, drop in the bucket, I suppose. But for the typical Canadian, the average Canadian, or the that lower to middle of the middle class, or the upper of the lower class, right? Like $2,000, it's better than a kick in the ass. And apparently some of them are saying, oh, this is my last day. And like I say, there's a lot of people who are on the front lines out there, especially in retail, especially in the grocery stores, big time in the grocery stores. That seems like everybody wants to go to the grocery store now, because it's basically the only place that you are allowed to go. So if there's any place that has groceries, like, Giant Tiger, Dollarama, these are the places that are still busy because they're considered essential services. But a lot of the people that work for these places, like your grocery stores, your Dollaramas, your Giant Tigers and such, make minimum wage or just above. And their take-home pay after taxes, after government put their greedy hands in and took their portion, right, against these people's permission, of course, because nobody gave them permission. But once they've taken their chunk, you might be only bringing home $300, $350 a week. Meanwhile, some of these other people are I mean, you can say, like even like what my wife is suggesting, and even other people say, yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. That, I guess, if you want to take the perspective is, hey, at least I'm out here working. But is it really, right? If you're making less and you're putting yourself out there in a vulnerable position to be in contact with people that may have the virus, and you're doing it for less money than the people that are getting to sit home, right? And not having to get up in the morning and traipse on into work. And if you live on the east coast of Canada, yeah, as you find out today, lots of snow, another foot of snow dumping. So, going out and navigating those treacherous roadways, shoveling off your car, maybe shoveling your driveway, or, what all that takes just to go to work to get paid less than a lot of these people who are not essential, right? That are sitting home getting that government check. So once again, that's a perspective that it depends on, right? Now, if you're someone that makes $100,000 a year and you're still working, yeah, because that $2,000 a month would be quite a bit below. You'd be taking a pay cut. But you got to keep in mind, a lot of the people that are in essential services are people that are in low paying or minimum wage jobs. So for them, it's soul crushing. And I'm pretty good at putting myself in that position. And I would say it'd be quite hard for me to deal with every day, knowing that I'm basically forced that I have to go to work. Well, I mean, you could quit, right? But if you quit, you can't say that, you can get these benefits because you quit when there was a job actually there for you. So no, you won't get part of all that government largesse and that forced wealth and income redistribution that's currently taking place. So once again, this is disincentivizing the people that are on the front lines, and you're seeing some of them that are saying, I'm out of here, screw this shit or whatever. Like, they just don't want to put up with it. And yes, they've gotten some small raises. People have even been saying, like, oh, well, didn't you folks get a raise? But if you find out how much of a raise they got, $2 an hour, and a lot of these people work part-time hours, 20 to 30 hours. Even if you're on the upper end of that with 30 hours per week, $2 an hour times 30, right, is $60. Or sorry, actually, the wife's corrected me. Actually, no, you have to put in your first 20 hours of work, right? So your first 20 hours you work, you get nothing. So that extra $2 an hour that the government or that the employers are paying these employees on these frontline workers in grocery are only getting like that. So if you worked a 30-hour week, that 10 hours, well, you'd get a whole $20. A whole $20, right? Ooh, what? Well, that surely sends a whole lot of incentive for people who want to stay out there and not just put up with the potential of getting the coronavirus, but that large representation of the public that are fucking very idiotic and treat these people like shit, like they're constantly. I mean, like I say, frontline workers in retail already have to deal with a public that can be quite irate and irrational and very entitled, right? But under these circumstances, they're having to put up with a tremendous amount even more. And for what? Lower pay than what the people that aren't essential are now sitting home getting that, like I say, that nice $2,000 a month from the government, right? That's so once again, folks, perspective, right? Depends on where you're sitting or where you're coming from and what your opinion is in regards to if it's fair or not. Okay, moving on to the chat. Trudeau doesn't seem to be, no. But hey, right on. If you consider yourself lucky, good for you, John. Like and in your situation, I'm sure you're thinking, rightfully so for maybe your current situation. I think the new Pope is off his climate rocket. We need a new Pope, John Paul. I just don't give a shit about the Pope, right? I just don't give a shit about. I don't know. I know a lot of people. They put their faith in these so-called leaders, but I mean, come on. I just don't. Sorry, whether it's a politician or the Pope, right? Don't give a shit about any of these people, to be honest with you. If there was no such thing as a Pope, I'd be the very best. I'd be able to go through the rest of my life not worried about a goddamn thing. I think unemployment rate in Alberta is 7.5%. Well, like even when they're talking about because the million jobs, like I was reporting on yesterday, million people went on unemployment and it went from 5 point something to 7.8, whatever. But that is only, like I say, the way they measure unemployment. You got to remember there's already 30-some% of the population that's not actively working, right? Because that's our participation rate is roughly in around. It teeters depending, but 64, 65, 66%. So when they talk about these, that's just the number that they get from people, like the change from last month to this month. Not the people that aren't actively seeking work or who have moved into retirement. Think about it, a lot of boomers every day are moving into retirement, and they will be for the next 10, 12 years. And those government workers that get that nice gold-plated pension adjusted for inflation, whether they're working or they're on their pension, it's like everything's gravy if you work for the government. There's no economic hardships because the government just, like I say, turn on the printing press, boys. Now you and I in the private sector are going to have to pay for all that stuff, right? But because of the increased costs due to the inflation. But when you're a government worker or retired and your pension is pegged to inflation to make sure that you stay ahead of that inflation, well, no matter what happens economically, you're going to be just fine. There's that, to me, that, like I said, and I've said this many times before, that's the true divide in this country that should piss off anyone that's in the private sector. Agenda 21, are you ready for the vaccines? I hope so. Like I was saying earlier, it seems that seems to be where they're going with this is, you're going to be in lockdown and we're going to make it as uncomfortable and as miserable as possible. And when the vaccine comes, you'll be running right to the door saying, quick, put the needle in. Please, I need to get outside, right? So, yeah. No forced vaccination in any state. Well, like I say, it'll depend. A lot of Canadians believe in Trudeau as their ruler, their leader. And if Trudeau says that you have to do it, your neighbors, your co-workers, be careful out there. There's lots of people that will sell you up the river if you don't abide by their political master's edicts. That's the thing. A lot of people are going to realize that all those fellow Canadians and that nice, warm, cozy feeling you got about how we're all just one big happy family, as time plays out, you're going to see that it's complete bullshit. Because there's a lot of people out there right now just waiting to call on you. You stepping outside when you're not allowed. Hey, I can't have my family members over for Easter, and I'm going to follow by the rules because I'm a good little order follower, right? But my neighbor, fucking goddamn rebel they are. Oh, they got their sons and daughters over for Easter, motherfuckers. Well, if I can't have mine, ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Oh, I can report anonymously, right? I don't have to give my name. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, well, my neighbor's out there having family over, and they're not practicing the proper isolation or social distancing. So, yeah, you might want to go arrest them. And you might want to do it before they start getting their meal and sitting down the table and maybe, saying a prayer, right? Get them quick. Yeah, like I say, rest assured, that's going to happen this weekend. And you'll read the reports on it probably next week, right? Like I say, there's a lot of things, a lot of revelations that are going to, a lot of things that people have been trying to ignore and avoid and pretend that if they just close their eyes and plug their ears, it'll all go away. Not going away. And as we're seeing, going to get much worse before it gets better. Vaccines are tainted with mycoplasma. See Gareth work with electron mic. Yeah, I mean, that could be, like I say, I don't know that kind of information. I don't get into that kind of stuff. I just know that, once again, philosophically, or, anything has to do with justice or representing individual rights and freedoms is no. You have no one has the authority to force me to put anything in my body against my will. Vaccine and test tainted. Good afternoon, old time. Hey, what's going on? Saihan, good afternoon. Yeah, I would definitely be what you would call, I guess, an old timer at this particular time. Bennett, stop. There are no experts in this whole thing. Well, right. Well, that's what they like to call them, right? I'm just going by what they reference them. They say they're all experts. Like I say, to me, that's just the term they use to make sure that you listen to them and only them. Trudeau's completely nuts if he thinks we're going to wait for a vaccine, but he's in his glory because he can now act like the dictator he wants to be. Yeah, he loved China's basic dictatorship, and now he's like, oh, you mean I get to play that game too? Aw, I get to be my own Xi Jinping? Yeah, little potato. Yeah, you're going to get to play that role. And he does love his acting, right? He's been practicing on it. He's got his beard, right? Trying to act like he's more macho, the big tough guy now, right? Yeah, he's going to play that role. He's been salivating for a while to play that role, right? The first term was, I'm going to play the role of a feminist, right? Think about the flip-flop even on the guy who's trying to, how he wanted to present and portray himself, right? Like, just fucking complete flip-flop out there, hey everybody, with a, like fucking on the Pride Parade and constantly with the fucking, like, the super crossing of the legs, which almost for most guys, like, I mean, I know guys can cross their legs. It is possible, but like, damn, he makes that seem very comfortable. Like, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, and all feminism, right? But now he's playing a whole new role. Like I say, these fuckers, they belong down in Hollywood, not rolling over a country. That's for goddamn sure. People like that, they'll roll out vax testing. Yeah, let's allow the government to inject us with poison. Well, like I say, they're going to try to make it. The 5G towers thing, keep it real. I even just hearing other people talk about, because 5G hasn't been rolled out in these countries, it's like, it just seems weird to, like, just don't fall for, I mean, come on, you do know, like, that some people are going to create conspiracy theories, right? I mean, come on, of course, conspiracy-minded type of people are going to take advantage. They always have. Every incident that's ever happened in all of human history. And like I say, some things are proven to be legit. So I'm not saying that everybody gets into the conspiracy mode, but come on. I mean, 5G, we don't even have fucking 5G in a lot of parts of our countries and stuff. So, and the fact that the virus is here, you can't say that it's 5G that's spreading it if you don't actually have fucking 5G. So can you at least, like, to me, it's like, do you even need that? Or if you do, then I don't know, whatever. I get it. But to me, it's like, there's got to be ways where because I'm just going to tell you straight up, because this is what I do, is the more you create all these hyper sensationalized narratives, it just makes it so fucking easy. Like, you have no idea how much easier you're making, like, Trudeau and the media in this country's job to say, look at all these fucking nut bars, right? Look at these nut bars. Look at these tinfoil hat wearing motherfucking conspiracy theory. And no wonder you give them so much fodder to use. Like I say, if you want to believe that stuff, believe it if you want. No one is saying you don't have to believe it, or that someday you might not be correct. But unless you know that for certain, is it really important to you to put forth that narrative and destroy any credibility? If you're proven at some point in time, don't you think that's like, okay, yeah, I get it, right? But I don't know. To me, it's like, get out in front. Unless you have some serious evidence to back up your claim. I would just say, if it's something that you don't know for certain, try not touting it. Like I say, and that's not me telling you, that's just advice. It's not me telling you what you have to do. It's just my advice saying, I don't think, to be personally, I just don't think it brings a whole lot to the equation, right? Other than giving the media about these is an excuse to say, oh, look, Bennett's got a bunch of conspiracy theorists in his stream or something, right? So I don't know. To me, it's like, I just don't know. Because 5G towers are not anywhere, especially in Atlantic Canada. Come on, the coronavirus is here. So I don't know. Anyways, folks, sorry, I go on a little rant there. The longer they can flatten the curve, the more time they have to ramp up control. Yeah. Well, they're not even really flattening the curve per se. As we're seeing, it's still continuing to increase even with all these lockdowns because that's the thing. They don't, to truly flatten the curve would mean everybody's doing everything right. But that's not the case, right? Well, I guess to a certain degree. But I mean, how much, that's the thing. When you flatten the curve and when they use this rhetoric, like how much, if the curve went from, here to barely perceptible difference, I mean, you could say you flatten the curve, but look at all the costs incurred, right? Economically, socially, the loss of the liberties. So I don't even like using that terminology, flattening the curve, because we can suggest even if we lowered it by 0.0001%, or you could say, oh, we flattened the curve. Okay, yeah, but what was the cost? I'd say the detriments far outweighed and outstripped any slight cost benefit that we might have got by flattening that curve a little tiny bit, right? It's not the towers, it's the thousands of satellites. The 5G might not cause it, but it can be good for the immune system. The 5G might not cause it, but it can't be good for... I'm not saying 5G is good or not, like I say, but not everything has to be tied into, like, I don't know. I just find it, and like I say, if it turns out to be true, good for you. I mean, come back later on and say, hey, see, I was right all along, wasn't I? But I don't know. To me, it's like, why? Worry about, like, the cause. I mean, eventually someone's going to have to find the cause. Because none of us know the cause, to me, it's like, why do you have to focus on what the cause is? Let those who are genuinely knowledgeable in those fields try to figure out the cause. Or if you're competent in that field, try to figure out the causes. But the most important thing to me is what does government do as a response or reaction? And that's the thing. This is a libertarian channel. So to me, that's the I mean, if you want to get into the stuff like in terms of that, and there's lots of great people out there that deal with mostly like conspiracy theories, and they put forth some excellent analysis and the story. But that's just not what I'm into. That's just not my wheelhouse. That's just not something that, because to me it doesn't, whether it's caused by 5G or not, but what is fucking government doing? What is government doing to us, right? What's because the vaccine, as we know, the vaccine didn't go out and march onto the street and say, got to close down all your businesses. Everyone's got to isolate in their home and be locked down or quarantined for months or up to a year and a half. That never happened because of the virus. It happened because of the response or the reaction by big government, right? So to me, let's just stick with that part of it in terms of the liberty side of things. If you want to, get into what the causes are, I mean, go ahead and do it, like I say. But I'm not even saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying for me, it's just not a priority for me. I'll leave that stuff up to the people that actually know what they're doing. And there are some people out there. Okay, got to get back up. Now I can't even do a part-time job without losing the next one. You just got your 2K, Gordon Stewart? So you're, I guess you're a non-essential worker. Well, yeah, I was reading the report that lots of people, and it was almost, they said, oh, it just happened so easy and so seamless. Really. Almost seems like government had that kind of figured out quite quickly. The reaction, the response to the COVID-19 outbreak, no, pretty slow and late to the game. Having the proper protective equipment, no, don't have that. I mean, they were caught with their pants down in a myriad of ways, but, having that ability to get that government income out to the people, right? Well, they seem to have been very well prepared for that. Right? Oh, yeah, I got to go way down. A conspiracy theory, a term used to discredit those who have seen through the... Yeah, I mean, you're talking... Like, it's not like I don't think things that don't happen. But are you suggesting there aren't people that... Are you a flat earther? Are you suggesting that people, like everything that people say is just, anyways, moving on. Government corrupted. So how do we stop any of this? Like I said, there is no how do we stop it until you change the culture of this country, and it's not going to happen. Maybe this alone will help, getting people thinking more critically, but you don't stop nothing. I mean, and pretend that you can, well, unless you come up with an idea. I'll say you aren't going to stop this, and I'll prove that I'm correct in my assumption, but you aren't stopping it. Like I say, because unfortunately, while everyone was out just minding their business, putting their nose to the grindstone for decades and decades and decades on end, the statists have been busy indoctrinating generations of Canadians to conform to, their new overlord, their new masters, their new thought leaders. So, like I say, until you figure out a way to unwind all that mass indoctrination that most of your fellow Canadians have been susceptible to and are currently experiencing, until you can get through that, work through that, there's nothing that you can do. Not a damn thing, which is why, like I say, people like myself have been saying for, in excess of a decade now is, no, you got to get Canadians in the know in terms of what it is to be free, what government is. If Canadians understood all the concepts that I understood, well, they'd be in a perfect position to be able to push back against big government, and none of this would be able to take place because the people would say, no, you can't do that because, no, you're not my ruler, you're not my owner. But because most Canadians don't believe in independence or individual liberty in the way it's supposed to be, they're gonna, like I say, you're at the mercy of your fellow Canadians, and a lot of your fellow Canadians like what's going on. Vaccines are a Nazi experiment on humanity. Yeah, I'm sure the Nazis did experiment with lots of crazy shit, right? That's for sure. Government was put there to make you think you have a choice. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. Yeah, that's true. New normal walk around like zombies with any human contact. Most conspiracy theories are without the theory. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not saying that things don't, and I don't like even using that term either, except, like I say, it's just, I don't know. To me, I mean, I just don't understand why bringing any of that into the conversation. How does that help? How does that help? Other than getting people even more confused, right? I mean, to me, it's like if you don't know what the hell's going on, at the very least, before you start speculating and, getting people into these kind of mindsets, just think about it. How important is it for you to put forth that narrative, right? And I'm not even saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying there are time and places for that. Trump opening economy on May 1st. Well, that's what he's saying. We'll see how that pans out. You won't get a driver's license. You won't get medical health. You won't be able to buy or sell without the vaccine. Well, I don't even have a driver's license currently right now. That's a story for another time, or actually people that are already familiar with my history know why. I'll live my life standing up, not on my knees. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. If it does, time for riots. Stick your vaccine and test. Just say forcing me on my sons to take a force. Just try forcing me or my sons to take a forced vaccine. I got guns. Yeah, the arm gun, right? Well, but that, once again, you got to. Well, yeah, I guess that would be used as a defense. So, by any means necessary, no flu shot ever. I'm against forced vax. Shutting up. So, how do we stop? Okay, no. I heard that the Spanish flu was the biggest vaccine disaster in history. Is it true? Yeah, I'm kind of reading up and learning about the Spanish flu, watching some stuff about it. I still haven't got to the point where I'm that knowledgeable enough yet, but hopefully I will in due time. I'm surviving the $5,000 every month. Oh, you're doing all right then. What rabbits overbreed in a bush, they naturally die off with a disease. It's all part of nature. When rabbits overbreed in the bush, they naturally die off with a disease. Fake virus. I don't know. Most uncivil servants don't work as if. Most civil ones don't work as it is, for fuck's sake. Another vaccination for the useless. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, the fact that they're non-essential, you could send them home and nobody notices or bats an eye, tells it. Yeah. Like, really, how much are they truly worth? Well, because the market isn't what pays them. Government does. So we would never know what these people are truly worth. But it seems like a lot of them aren't worth a whole lot, right? Corona's doing nothing but weeding the sick and weak out of society. False flag written all over it. Everything's a false flag. It's a thing, false flag, but people believe in it, right? Just like government's fake. Government is illegitimate, but hey, the rest of the people believe in it. So as false as you can pretend it is, or how mystical it could be, well, it just depends, right? Because if everyone else believes in it, it's pretty real. I'm not getting any money, maybe $600. Who the hell is getting $2,000? Davey. So let's see. False flag. Coming after everything now. Guns and personal property is next. UN troops. Well, that's part of the quarantine, right? Trudeau was saying, actually, let me get to see if that's up here. Because there was something talking about. Okay, yeah. Just one sec here. I'm going to find that. If they do bring in the act, the Emergencies Act, I'm going to tell you what kind of expanded powers comes with that. Yeah, here we go. So this one is a headline article out of CBC. As supply concerns grow, Ottawa lays the groundwork for Never Used Emergencies Act. One federal source said Trudeau's letter is part of a contingency plan. The federal government is reaching out to the provinces and territories to talk about invoking the Never Used Before Emergencies Act as pressure mounts on Ottawa to take control of critical medical supplies and equipment in the fight against COVID-19. Sources tell CBC News that Ottawa has sent a letter to provincial and territorial governments as part of the consultation period, a required step before triggering a public welfare emergency. The issue also is expected to be a topic when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau calls the premiers today. So the letter's already been sent out, so it sounds like they're heading in that general direction anyways, right? Now let me just tell you what kind of added powers comes with the Emergencies Act. The Emergencies Act, which came into effect in 1988, gives the federal government sweeping powers to regulate or prohibit travel, requisition and use property, right? So just to take over whatever property they want and use it for whatever reason they want. That's what it's saying. Requisition and use property. Order qualified people to provide essential services. To order qualified people to provide essential services. So force you, because to order someone is to force them again. So if you said no, you can't say no, right? Sounds a whole lot like human ownership to me, because only a person that could claim ownership over another human being could suggest that it's legitimate in any way to force them to do any kind of work against their will, right? If you're forcing people to perform work or duties against their will, and in this situation is even worse than the slave situation, because at least the slaves, for the most part, didn't have this ominous threat of a virus, a potentially deadly virus for some people. Like I recognize that it's mostly people who are vulnerable, but think about it. Either way, this is to suggest that the government can force you against your will to provide a service if they deem you essential. That is just a rewording of human ownership, that the government owns your fucking ass, and the fact that we have such thing as an emergency act that the government can pull out, right, in times such as this, that alone, just like I said so many other times before, don't believe for 1 second that you have any inherent inalienable rights that are acknowledged in this country. They are not. They are not, because this is proven right here that government has all kinds of tools in their arsenal, in their little tool belt, in their little authoritarian tool belt, that completely denies or attempts to override any semblance of individual liberty. And like I've said a multitude of times, and I'm going to say it one more time, if the government can take away these liberties, even for a temporary time frame, then they're not genuine liberties at all. They're pretending that they're privileges. So a privilege is something that you can take away, right? That is just a, that's just a reality. But if it's an inherent and inalienable right, well, the government shouldn't even have the pretense or any kind of act of legislation that would suggest or purport otherwise that they can. Because that's government suggesting that, no, we don't have to respect your individual rights and your liberties. We can actually override them whenever we damn well choose. So once again, folks, this, like I say, at the very least, use this. And like I say, all this stuff will be placed in the link of this video below on this stream. All these articles will be in there. So if you want to go to your family or people out there and say, you don't have any fucking freedoms, and don't pretend otherwise, use exactly this kind of stuff to point it. This is, like I say, this comes from their own media sources. So it's not just me telling you this. This is me pointing out what your own thought leaders are telling you, right? Now, they're not going to say it in the way I say it that would actually cause you to have concern. They're going to say it in a way that, no, that's good, right? Because we need to be protected, right? But they're basically admitting right there that Emergencies Act basically turns you into a human slave in the minute the government deems so. And then, of course, in addition to that, regulate the distribution of goods, resources, and services, and establish emergency shelters and hospitals. So basically, goods, resources, and services. So basically take control of the entire economy if they want, right? That's what the Emergency Act entails. Government to basically just, I'm sure North Korea, right, has this kind of legislation. Now, I'm sure they probably invoke it or use it a lot more often, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Depend on how conformist the North Korean people are. But this, what kind of, this is every fucking tin pot dictator or authoritarian regime around the planet claims to have the authority to override all your rights and freedoms. That's what a dictator, that's what authoritarian regimes do. And in Canada, like I say, the only difference is in Western style democracies, they're much better salesmen. They pretend that they're not authoritarian. They use the more soft measures. And why? Because they've relied on the education system and horizontal enforcement from all the status in your life to keep you in check and make sure you're compliant with all those mandates, orders, and edicts, right? And they recognize that most Canadians are very conformist, very sheepish, and do exactly what they're told. So that's why you don't see these kind of things initiated very often, is because, the Canadian sheeple are very compliant. They do exactly what the wolves tell them, right? But so there's that. That to me, and like I say, it's unbelievable to think that this is actually going to unfold. And how is it that the largest percentage of this population aren't like you and I and outraged and in an uproar over this? I don't know. Like I say, the power of indoctrination, folks. Thought on that's what they'll use. It's like we've got to squash, we've got to destroy all your freedoms and your liberties because it's for the greater good. But wait a minute, that's not for my good. Where's the greater good? If you destroy all of our liberties, isn't the fact that we have these liberties, isn't that what represents the greater good? Isn't that what separates the West from the authoritarian dictatorial regimes around the world that the media in this country likes to talk down about? Well, isn't that's what created the greater good, was the fact that we're supposed to have all these inherent and inalienable rights and liberties? Well, once you've taken them away, there is no longer even a concept, as far as I'm concerned, as the fucking greater good. So, absolute bullshit, folks. Absolute bullshit. But thanks for bringing that up, Dave Dismantled. NWO for life. Make up a t-shirt, right? You might be able to sell a lot of them. There's probably lots of sheeple out there that'd be like, hey, I want one of them shirts. New World Order for life, motherfucker. Right? I don't know. Whatever. Trudum wants to kill off us old stock Canadians, and it'll save pensions. I'm pretty sure they don't really care how many people, I don't think Trudeau gives a flying rat's ass about anyone other than himself. So now I can't even do it. Okay. I'm an American. I don't know anyone who's gotten $2,000. Well, in America, it's $1,200, right? Aren't you supposed to in Davie? I think Trump's going to hand out everyone $1,200, but at least with Trump, I think they're going to do it under the federal plan. I think weren't they saying all American people is going to get that $1,200, whereas in Canada that $2,000, well, that's only you got to meet a ton of requirements, and like I say, so they're picking whoever's going to get this that's going to be a recipient of this $2,000. There's going to be lots of Canadians aren't going to get a goddamn thing. And actually, a lot of the Canadians that aren't going to get a goddamn thing are the ones that are even worse off than the people that are going to get it to a substantial degree, right? So there's that. Like I say, that's what happens in every one of these regimes. Hey, if you kiss the ring, if you're part of the ruling class, then right, you get all the goodies, right? That's how they keep and maintain your loyalty to the state. Just like Nazis did, just like the fascists under Mussolini, just like, the communists in China, the communists in Russia, or the former Soviet republics, the Soviet Union. Yeah, like I say, they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll carry some favor for you if you just kiss the ring, if you align with the state, if you conform with the state, and a lot of people, because most people are like more than willing to stick their tail between their legs and just go along to get along, as we've seen, especially after the Nuremberg trials. How many people did some terrible, awful things to their fellow men, women, and children because they were told to do so? And because they were like, well, I don't necessarily like all those orders, but hey, my master treats me a whole lot better than the ones that don't follow the orders, right? I don't want to be the one on the boxcar. I want to be the one putting people on the boxcar instead and getting a paycheck for it, right? So, yeah, coming soon to this country where you're going to see how many of those people in this country who work for government or wish to work for government are going to be more than willing to sell you up the river for, as low as $2,000 a month. Right? Fire sale prices, folks. Your liberties are on sale, and it's going right now for $2,000 a month. New World Order is old. They've been building it up brick by brick for at least, it's authoritarian collectivism, right? Authoritarian collectives, they love them. They want to destroy any semblance of individuality, of sovereignty, of liberty. That's because they're much, much, much easier to control. Authoritarian collectives realize that the hordes are much easier to control when you strip them from their essentials, their necessities, and their independence. People that are independent are really hard to control. If you get people that rely on the state, have to suckle on the state's tit, more and more of them, well, like I say, they're the people that are much, much easier to control. So that's what it is at the end of the day, is authoritarian collectivists are trying to destroy any semblance of individuality, of sovereignty, or independence, both socially and economically. Are you guys Canadian or American? I'm Canadian. Yeah, I'm sure you're asking in the chat. It will get much worse, yeah. So someone typed again. How did I get that again? So how do we stop this? I thought I already answered this. This the calm before the storm? Well, I mean, it can be, for some people, it's already the storm a little bit, right? This is Trudeau's wet dream. He can now become the Castro Jr. he's always wanted to be. Get ready, Canada's finished. QAnon is, I don't know nothing about that QAnon stuff either. Like I said, don't get into any of that stuff. We cannot stop what is already foretold to happen. I'm not a determinist, Malachi King. I don't believe in determinism at all. And if I did, I would have already given up long ago. Right? If I don't have no say over anything that happens in my life, then, I mean, yeah. No, I don't even want to live in that kind of psychological hell. No thanks. No, as far as I'm concerned, free will does exist, and lots of times, I mean, think about it. All the people said that everything is impossible in history, the things that actually come to fruition and did happen, there was majority of the people were saying that's impossible. It was always that individual, right? Or that small group of individuals that said, no, actually it's not impossible. And we fucking did it, right? So I prefer to be in that mindset that nothing's impossible. And there's always the potential. I like to see, like, I'm a glass half full kind of a guy. The longer we sit at home, the worse it's going to get. We need to rebel now. If you think it will get much worse, you help to create that reality. Don't add to the hysteria. We're going to come out of this. I would say that's probably good mentality to take it. Anyways, let me get to more of these things. Because like I say, I want to deal with the economic side of things, of course. So like I say, I dealt with that. Trudeau's quarantine's the new normal. Oh, and I wanted to cover this, of course, too, because this is, well, actually, I kind of covered it in my video yesterday, so maybe I won't have to cover it much, but this is out of Global News. Canadians overwhelmingly support stronger measures to fight COVID-19, this Ipsos poll. But basically, it was along lines, it was the poll that they were referencing in the article I was saying yesterday, but 87% were supportive of the government using empty hotels to house the homeless. Okay, no, that's a different question, sorry. Yeah. The poll released Thursday on behalf of Global News also found 84% of Canadians surveyed would support whatever deficit that Ottawa would say is necessary to get Canada through the coronavirus pandemic. So what that tells me is 84% of Canadians don't give a fuck how many, young people or the unborn or future generations have to be economically enslaved, to deal with this pandemic. Which tells me that 84%, now it's not obviously 84% of the actual population, because these polls are never a sampling, truly, of 37 million people. It's probably a sampling of 1 or 2,000, and they say that that's going to average out, and that's representative of the general population at large. But once again, depend on sampling, that's absolute bullshit. But based on that sample size, whether it's 1,000 or 2,000 people, out of that, like I say, even if it's 2,000 people, well, 84% of those people that were polled said, yeah, fuck, I don't care about deficits. Spend till your heart's content, Trudeau. Economically enslave as many Canadians as you want to supposedly counteract this virus, which, once again, it'll be proven time and time again that, all this reckless spending and deficits and all it's doing is benefiting a lot of really bad people at the expense of, like I say, the future and success of generations. They'll have to pick up the bill or the tab to pay for all this shit. So, like I say, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Canadians. Well, especially the Canadians that take these fucking polls. The people that would take these polls are at least 84% of them are pathetic piece of shit human beings. Vile, evil, immoral, scum-sucking parasites. That's what they are. To put it nicely. I'm actually trying to be nice because, I'm live on the internet, right? That's me being nice. I could go on a tirade about these people, but no, save that maybe for another day. The same majority of Canadians, okay, so 85% supported both stricter physical distancing measures enforced by legislation. So they love them some control. They love using government to control. It's like as if I didn't know this already, that a large percentage of the Canadian population loves using government force to dictate and control every aspect of their fellow Canadians' lives. Yeah, I already knew this. This is actually not even the slightest bit surprising or shocking to me because I already knew that. I already knew that there was plenty of Canadians in this country that, just give them the opportunity. If they could be king for a day, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of those people, which tell you the kind of people that Canada represents these days, which is why, I don't get that gushy feeling of, we're just all one big happy family. Yeah, I wonder why, considering 85%, according to this poll, of my peers would love to use government to control every aspect of my life. Yeah. Wonder why I don't have that warm, gushy feeling about Canada and Canadians, right? Anyways, so moving on from that, that shit makes me sick. Now this, though, once again, it's the truths. It's the realities that most people overlook, but to me, it's what's most important that comes out or comes to light as a consequence of these things that matters most. And you better believe I'm going to make sure that Canadians fully understand this, or at least the ones that pay attention to my videos or streams. The provinces entered this crisis. This is a headline out of Financial Post, by the way. The most indebted in the world. So, I'm sure lots of you that, pay attention to the media in the typical days or whatever, they tried to tout after the financial crisis. Oh, Canada, oh no, we did so much better. And those dumb Americans and Trump's an idiot. And they just, we're better than everyone, right? How? I mean, we already know. I mean, most Canadians do at least know that Ontario is the most indebted sub-sovereign on the planet. But this is basically acknowledging that it's not just Ontario. No, it's if you compare it to all the other countries around this world, around this planet, and there's 200 or so of them? A lot of countries, right? That have like a federal and then they have provincial or state governments. But compare us all to them, right? And you got to think there's some African nations, there's Asian nations, there's, Australia. I mean, so think about all Middle Eastern countries, all the countries around the world when they're making these kind of measurements is in Canada, the provinces entered the crisis as the most indebted in the world, which is why when they say, the federal debt's not so bad, it's actually, we're doing better federal debt, like when they compare the U.S. debt. Like in the U.S., the federal debt is higher than Canadian federal debt. But the reason why that is because, a large percentage or bulk of that debt is incurred by the provinces, but it's still the debt's still the same, right? You're still going to have to pay it regardless, whether it goes to the federal government or your provincial government. Those debts are incurred, and in Canada, yeah, the worst in the world. The worst. Like at the bottom, rock bottom. Not like midway, not closer to the top. I'm talking, it says the most indebted in the world. They are going to need help. Opinion. In recent weeks, Newfoundland and Labrador, which once again, Newfoundland and Labrador, what the fuck is with the Newfies? Christ almighty, the Newfies have gone fuckingly nut with their big time believers in the state over there on the rock buys. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you folks, right? I mean, your history used to be fighting against monarchies and being economically and socially enslaved by the kings of England, right? Now they're like, oh, we want to be part of the government. We want to have to suckle off it. Whatever happened to that kind of independent, that Irish mentality where it's like, fuck that. Nobody rules over me, right? Which is why that island was so hard to be taken over even by the Roman Empire. But how far the Irish has fallen, right? Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. And yeah, it's not just Newfoundland and Labrador, obviously. But they were basically came close to running out of cash. Even when you have the ability, but that's the thing. See, they have to borrow, but it's only 1% higher than the federal government does, the provinces. But still, think about it. So fucking bad off that even before the coronavirus, they were already in debt. So of course you're not prepared to deal with this, which is why the response is so outsized compared to what it should be. The reason why the response is so authoritarian is because nobody was prepared for this shit. None of the governments, obviously the federal fucking government wasn't I mean, we've seen even in terms of having the proper protective equipment, right, available. Nope, they weren't prepared at all for that. Nobody was prepared for the tens or 20s of thousands of people that were coming from China, where the actual the outbreak originated, that were coming to this country, right? That I reported on yesterday. Nobody was prepared for that, and they were like, oh, let's just allow it to happen. And as we're seeing, obviously, the provinces, nobody's been prepared for that rainy day because everyone's been living the Keynesian lifestyle of just printing money, spending it recklessly, and having indentured servitudes or economically enslaving the unborn, right? So this is what the fucking result of this kind of central plan, this kind of socialism does. It destroys all the incentives for not just, like I say, the leaders in the federal government, but your provincial leaders as well. These are the people that have placed you in that situation, and it's not just them. You folks that voted for all these politicians, for all these parties, because you wanted to get a little bit of yours, right? A little bit more of that government largesse, a little bit more of that redistribution. You folks are the ones that kept voting for this shit. So yeah, you're to blame too. Not necessarily if you're not one of those people in this chat, but yeah, there's lots of Canadians that are responsible for this as well. And anyways, perfectly aligns with this next one. More than 1 million Canadians. So this is, we already heard on the first day, or just since this first rollout of the government, getting you check, 1 million people are unemployed, and what was it? 1 million people went to apply for these government handouts, right? For the socialist check. But in addition to that, this is a headline once again out of Financial Post. More than 1 million Canadians believe they are on the verge of bankruptcy, new poll suggests. 1 million jobs lost in March, just the thin edge of the wedge. This was reported by Barbara Schechter, April 10th, 2020. More than 1 million Canadians believe they are on the verge of having to declare bankruptcy, according to the findings of a new poll released Thursday. The survey conducted by DART, DRT, and Marablue found an even larger group, 4.2 million. Remember I was telling you that there are 4.1 million Canadians that work for the government? Maybe it's 4.2 million now because, I don't know, it's been a while since I reported on that. Anyways, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what this number represents, but it's saying 4.2 million Canadian adults say they consider themselves to be heading toward bankruptcy over the next 3 months unless their personal finance conditions improve. So maybe not all just government workers, right? Because what would they be filing bankruptcy for if they work for the government? You're going to get... Anyways, but still, 4.2 million Canadians say they consider themselves to be heading toward bankruptcy over the next 3 months. Obviously, these are people that have been living way the fuck outside of their means. I mean, come on. This coronavirus has only been around for a short time so far. And the fact that 1 million people already had to jump on. I mean, think about how many hundreds of thousands now are trying to get deferred credit card payments, deferred mortgage payments. And we heard even reports. I've been reporting on this stuff for a long time where half of Canadians were saying they were only $200 away from not having enough money to pay their bills. So we know that there's already been a substantial portion of the population in this country that have been living way far outside their means. But who did that? Who did that? Now, government incentivized them, and governments and central banks definitely incentivized them with the rock bottom interest rates, trying to pull all that kind of economic activity forward to sustain increased in the GDP, right? But nobody forced Canadians' hands to take on this debt. I mean, I'm a Canadian. I've actually been in a situation because of everything that happened to me that I would have greatly benefited myself by taking advantage of all this government redistribution, right? Because government fucked me out of my pay. I could have took the psychology or the mentality like, yeah, I want to get some of that back. I could have been taking advantage of all this, or, borrowing against my home, right? Rather than paying off my mortgage during the interim after the financial crisis, I could have said, I'm just going to use my home like everyone else. Get all those home equity lines of credit, just, go buy new cars, buy a new bike, new four-wheeler, maybe put a new engine in, maybe put a supercharger on. Like, I could have been like a lot of Canadians, renovating my kitchen maybe a couple times. I don't necessarily like this one. Let me do it again, right? Because, it's getting this money almost for free. But nobody forced Canadians to do that. The Canadians that put themselves in this position, that 4.2 million Canadians, well, you fucking chose to do that yourself. Once again, you should have made the wise decision all along. You should have been thinking about things a lot more than what you were, and than just that obey and consume. If you had to put aside that mindless conformity to just obey and consume and save for a rainy day, well, you'd be in a much, much better situation. Like, I'm fucking dead poor compared to most people in this country, at least on paper. But yet, I'm probably going to be able to weather this storm better than most. Why? Because I don't have any outstanding debt. My monthly incurred costs are minimal, just enough to get by, right? So as long as I don't have all these massive amounts of debt, which I don't plan on occurring again ever for the rest of my goddamn life, is I'm going to make it through, hopefully, relatively better than people that, like I say, have $1 million homes, $30,000-$40,000 on like 4 or 5 credit cards. These are the people that would normally look down upon me, right? As if, because I still drive my old car. Like, I haven't bought a new car in, 10, 12 years? Actually, I've never bought a new car. I always buy my vehicles a couple years old. I've never in my entire life bought a brand new car, because I could buy the same thing, or even my pickup truck. I bought it a couple years old. Why? Because brand new, it was $36,000 back in the early 2000s, 2002 or so. To buy it new was around $36,000. I bought mine 2 years old for like around 20-ish. So why wouldn't I save myself $36,000? The kilometers were dirt cheap. It was still in excellent shape, blah, blah, blah. But that's the thing. A lot of Canadians, so that maybe their neighbor had a 2001, they want to get the 2002 so they could, like, it's a dick measuring contest. So they go out and put themselves in this kind of debt so they can say, I got a newer car than my neighbor. Well, all right. But that kind of mentality, that kind of thing, it's kind of probably fucking shooting. They're probably feeling pretty stupid and wanting to shoot themselves in their ass or their foot now, realizing that, how important was it to have that car that was a few months or 1 year newer than your neighbor's, right? Or that new Beamer sitting in your driveway. Like, this is what I mean. There's a lot of Canadians that rightfully deserve what they're going to go through and the kind of economic hardships. And why? Because they made the wrong decisions. They listened to the wrong people. Anyway, so yeah, there's that, folks. I just wanted to cover that. Back to the chat. Let me take a quick little drink. Welfare for all. Bye-bye, Canada. If you want your life back, you will take vaccinations. Yeah. Anyone who doesn't make $2,000 a month won't work, and why should they? Exactly. Well, it's going to incentivize people to be, like I say, how do you think these countries, even like places like Venezuela and stuff, who would want to? It wouldn't even make sense for someone like me, like, to do it. If, who's going to want to go work for less than that? This is how they bring about socialism. The longer we sit at home, the worse it's going to get. Yep. We need to rebel now. You go ahead. You go ahead. I'll be out there. Just give me a couple minutes. I'll just be a little bit behind you. Let me know how that works out there. Keep it real. Like I say, good luck with that. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Because there's not enough Canadians in this country that give a shit. Most of them are, like I say, more than willing to just roll over, lay down and roll over. So if you want to pop your head out there and put yourself, where the sniper's got the sight lined up on, go for it. No Americans get, Freedom! Augustusburg, freedom! I like it. Morning, folks, or afternoon for Easterners. Yeah. Keep it real, true that. Building and finishing a long-term care building, right on. I feel lucky to be still working because I don't want to sit at home. Yeah, well, that's good. Well, definitely if it's a long-term care home, that's probably some good fulfilling work anyways, because you're doing some good things there for some of the aging and elderly Canadians, right? There will be no flood this summer or food this summer. Government workers unions still should be illegal. Yeah, I mean, right? What do you need a government union when you fucking work for the government? Like, talk about redundancy of bureaucracy, right? Hey, Ben, I was going to do as you said and contact Tom. Oh, right on, to try to debate you, libertarian. That would be awesome. But then I watched a video where he supported Hillary. Not worth it. Another statist puppet. Yeah, shoot. Okay, well, like I say, I would still do it either way. Right? Matter of fact, the more statist, the better. I love me some good, vigorous intellectual battle. I love it. Like I say, that's to me, because I have that competitive nature. I would really enjoy that. And I actually look all the time for people that want to disagree with me. A lot of the times that start out when people say they're going to disagree with me and they want to come on the show, it's up, they all say, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Oh, yeah, no, what you're saying makes sense. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's like, but you said you disagreed with me. What was it? Well, what it is anyone can say that, but until you actually try to challenge me in real life or in this manner right here, but at least with full audio visuals involved and everything, it's like, yeah, it's easy to say it. Like I say, let's see you do it though, right? And I'm sure this Tom Hartman probably has at least enough confidence, because I'm sure he has a much higher, a viewership or people. That's what I mean, because I'm such a small number. Maybe they don't feel they can benefit. But to me, it's like, well, I prefer to find people that have really popular channels. Not because I want their audience. I most definitely wouldn't probably want, especially if he's a Hillary supporter. I most definitely don't want their audience. But yeah, I want to challenge people that, because like I say, the only way for me to gain more credibility in the knowledge that I bring to the table is by the public, the sheeple, seeing me. They, like I say, how you get libertarians to actually be not just understood, but realize for the population to realize just how much more knowledgeable we are on topics or subjects in regards to social or economic policies or what freedom even means, is the only way you'll ever see that is putting us in the proverbial ring, right? And go and have an intellectual battle with some of these people. Because right now, most Canadians, like when they see someone on CBC News or CTV News or any of these, 24-hour media outlets or whatever, they're like, these are the experts. Well, to me, like I say, how I prove that the emperor's wearing no clothes is by challenging one of these experts and showing them, literally proving to those Canadians, like, and I'd love to tell them. So this guy's an expert, right? And he probably went to university or college, probably has a couple diplomas lining his walls, probably has a really high paying job, probably has multiple $5,000 pinstripe suits, all these things. And here's this lowly Bennett, truck driver, construction worker, dropped out of high school, got his GED. That's no real formal education at all, right? So how is it possible for this nobody, this seeming nobody with no government credentials to back him up, right? How is it? Because it's the power of ideas. It's the power of knowledge. It's the power of truth that I possess. I don't have a whole lot of these other things these folks have, but I have that, which is why, like I say, they will never be willing to, because then they would, not only would it destroy their credibility, I mean, it'd be hard for them to have their credibility destroyed by someone that was, maybe on the same level as them. That would probably be embarrassing as it is. But to be embarrassed from someone like me, oh, that would be icing on the cake. And which is why, like I say, I hope, I yearn for it every day. I hope that there's at least one or two of these people that think they're competent enough to truly, win out in an actual informal debate or argument in regards to any of these economic or social policies or big government pretense. I would love to do it, but like I say, I'm still over here. Tumbleweeds are rolling by. I've been, like I say, I put this challenge out. I even had it pinned on my Facebook page forever, right? Where it's like, please challenge me, please, especially if you disagree with me, please challenge me. Go ahead. I'll bring on anybody, like small channel, big channel. But there's a reason why I don't seem to get any of those people that are willing to rise to the challenge, is because I think deep down inside they know that they're going to lose, and they don't want it to happen publicly, right? They don't want it to be seen, because once it's there, I'm going to make sure that people are going to know about it, right? Keep an eye on the war between Turkey and Syria. Once Damascus has fallen, then we are only one step away. The rebuilding of the temple and the mount. Manufactured famine like the Bolsheviks did in Ukraine. Exactly. This is the Bolshevik move. So how do we stop any of this? Does anyone have any ideas? Like I said, I do have ideas, but once again, it comes down to how you stop it without, preemptive violence or a violent revolution. Is you got to get more and more people, hearing the kind of things that I got to say. They need to think. You need more people recognizing that the emperor isn't wearing any clothes. You need more people recognizing that government has no legitimate authority to do what they're doing. But because we live in a country where most of our peers are big believers in the state, like I say, there's not a whole lot. Now, for you as the individual, each of us as individuals, there's lots of little things that we can do in our own personal lives to alleviate or at least reduce the amount of potential harm to us, right? So have some kind of store of value some way in case the economic system completely collapses. Like some of the preppers. Preppers can help you in terms of make sure that you have a few things. You know how to farm, right? Studying up on how you grow, take things from a seed and make gardens and maybe learn how to quarter animals if you need to get into doing hunting at some point. There's lots of things that you can do to prepare for some ultimate economic collapse, which, is definitely has the potential right now. Or like I don't know if you folks seen this morning, I uploaded that interview that I was on AGX Media and I shared it to all my social media pages. And they've created a cryptocurrency, a blockchain-based cryptocurrency that is backed by silver. So you can still use it in the digital realm because it comes with the built-in ledger. It's a cryptocurrency and it has, like I say, it's built on the blockchain. So you have the built-in ledger for proof of work so that you can use it electronically. But because it's backed by silver, that means you can also cash it in and have real tangible silver. And if you can have real tangible silver, then like I say, even if the economy breaks down, because silver has intrinsic value, and it can be used as a medium of exchange, a medium of measure and value, and a medium to retain value, then, like I say, having options in terms of economic activities. Now, of course, there's also trade and barter, but trade and barter is difficult. But like I say, all you really need at the end of the day is a way to measure, exchange, and retain value. And something that has some kind of intrinsic value. But a lot of things have intrinsic value. Right? Food definitely has intrinsic value, especially when you get to the point where people are getting hungry. Or grocery stores are starting to, the shelves are, when the shelves are emptied on the grocery stores, then gardens become very valuable, right? Very, very valuable. So like I say, just thinking about the things that would be genuinely valuable for you or those you love one, if the economy completely collapsed. And then, like I say, having a way to protect yourself, because that's the thing when societies break down, it's not just the economic harm, but then you have a lot of people that will turn towards criminal means, because if they're broke and poor, they're not going to want to starve to death. And if their only way for them to feed themselves is to steal from you, well, they're going to be incentivized to want to steal from you. So having a means to protect whatever you're storing of value, right? So protect yourself. It's all like what I would suggest, if you have grandparents alive that lived through the Great Depression or understood any of these things before all Keynesian economics and this weird fucking economic world that we currently function in. If you have anyone in your life that understands real hardships and how societies and economies break down, those are the people that will definitely be able to give you some advice because they lived it, right? Which is why when I was a young man growing up, I really loved hearing those stories. Not that I like to hear people going through those hard times, but because those were lessons that were learned at the time, and those are things that I could bring forward today and help me to prepare for whatever the ultimate outcome might be. But as far as like what can we do in terms of going against government, like I say, you're not going to vote your way out of it right now. But what you can take advantage of the fact is that a lot of people are home and close to their internet connection, and helping people like myself spread this kind of knowledge and information. Because at this point in time, the most valuable resource, well, food and water, obviously. Food, water, and shelter are your three most valuable, tangible resources that we all need just to sustain ourselves. But even more important than I would say even that, because without your knowledge, right, without a proper mind functioning, then it's really hard to gain any of those things. So having your proper mind, and understanding a lot of the concepts is really important. So knowledge is power. And a very, very rewarding kind of power, because it can pay off dividends for the rest of your life. So to me, that's what we can do, is take advantage of the fact that, the internet is still up. It's not shut down as of yet. Take advantage of spreading this kind of knowledge and information around so that other people are hearing it as well. Even the people in your family that you don't necessarily like, if we want things to change, well, we need to convince these people that you don't have to pivot towards government. You don't have to pivot towards authoritarianism. We can get out from underneath of this stuff. We can put the COVID behind us without going into full-on totalitarianism or locking down entire segments of the economy or society. That to me is the best way. And once again, no force is needed. It's actually quite easily and readily done because information can be exchanged literally at the speed of light in real time. So that's what I would suggest is the best thing you do, and then prepare for any potential, outcome, because nobody knows how this is going to unfold. And the people that say that they do are just, well, they're lying to you, because nobody knows exactly, right? It might be rhyming some things in the past, but it's not the exact same thing. We don't know how this is going to unfold. But being prepared is definitely wise. People will return on people for sure. I had a personal experience in our neighborhood just last night. Yeah, no doubt, Dave dismantled. People are definitely going to turn against each other, right? I tell you what my grandfather said from being in World War II on the German side in the beginning. They couldn't trust their neighbors. They didn't know who was a rat or not. Yeah, and it wasn't just in Germany, obviously. It was same things happened in Russia as well. Yes, because that's what happened. Once people realize that their only source, is to pivot towards the state to protect them or to provide for them, when the state becomes the most dominant force in society, yes, people are definitely, when society breaks down, people are going to look to who are the providers and the protectors, right? And when the state is that sole representation, and that's basically what you have in Canada for the most part, is yes, people are going to want to do whatever they can to align with the state or to carry favor with the state, so that they're protected, and their security and their potential to feed themselves are sustained. So yeah, they'll turn against you. Even people that might not normally do so will definitely do so if it means they benefit at your expense. Because at the end of the day, people can pretend to be benevolent and exude or exhibit so much empathy, but at the end of the day, damn well every human being alive is going to ultimately be mostly concerned about themselves and those they love at the end of the day. They're going to take priority over anyone else, which is what libertarians understand is just a reality anyways, which is why I don't have to worry or pretend otherwise, that everyone is just empathetic and people sacrifice themselves for others all the time. Well, if they do it, they're doing it for a paycheck. They can put forth the notion that they do it because, now there are some good people, but let me tell you, those good people that just solely all the time sacrifice themselves for others, well, for two things, that if they've only chosen to be a sacrificial lamb themselves, well, they've already got a very slave-like psychology, and maybe are not so healthy in their own personal lives or have any self-esteem, because in reality, the kind of person that wants to sacrifice themselves on a regular and continued basis for everyone else and destroy their own lives that's people that have their own issues to deal with. Whereas libertarians, we recognize most people don't. Most people like to help other people, if they have the option and it's done so voluntarily, but most people when the chips are down, are going to want to take care of themselves and those they love first and foremost. Brampton man had a party on the weekend. Oh, fined him $100,000. Wow, Kevin Wawin. That's crazy, eh? $100,000 fine. I knew they were handing out fines, but $100,000 fine. That's crazy. It's easy to stop. Civilians arm up and take down the authorities. Okay, wait now. My name's 604 fuck Google. Okay, you've been in this chat a couple times, and I'm sure you've heard me say, I don't accept people bringing rhetoric such as that. Take down the authorities and hang it. Like, you can't bring that shit to my channel. And as much as I don't like to take people out of the chat or block people, if you continue to put shit like that out, yeah, sure, I'm all for freedom of speech, but you'll find out that I have limitations like anyone else. And if you're going to bring that shit to my channel, then I just can't accept it. Sorry. What I'm trying to do here is much more important than you being able to put forth this shit anyways, like I say, just My name 604. So, and the fuck Google. So like I say, it's your last warning, man. Don't, or woman, whatever the hell you are, just don't bring that shit to my channel. All right? I'll let this slide this time, but don't fucking do it again. And I'm not fucking joking. Can't be stopped because it's mutating. Social distancing, paper, please. Yeah. A virus is not alive. It does not mutate on its own. I did a deep dive. Shocking. Canadian intelligence new in January. Manipulate, deceive, control. Have you ever seen so many MSM ask Trudeau what he's going to do the martial law? Oh, yeah. They're, like I say, they're just all excited about it, right? Fucking idiots, man. See, these people with that slave psychology. They want everyone else to be in the same place as them. They live imprisoned in their mind, and they're like, oh, damn, I hate anyone that's free, right? How can the people that didn't want the vaccine be a threat to those that did? They can't. They can't. That's the excuse they always try and use. Oh, well, you have to do it. If you're not vaccinated, well, we need that herd vaccine, right? But meanwhile, now they're even against the herd vaccine, right? So, like I say, the media hacks are completely, they're destroying their own credibility, because now normally they're proponents of the herd vaccine thing, right? Where you need the whole herd to be vaccinated to protect the weak and the vulnerable. But now they're saying because of the malaria drug, or, oh, no, we don't want to do anything. Or no, it was the UK. That's what it was. The UK was going to try the herd vaccine, like people get it and then build up the immunity so that they have immunity against the virus. But once again, oh, no, we don't want to do it that way. No, they want to wait till they can control it with an actual vaccine. But like I say, and like you're alluding to, well, if you're vaccinated, I can't fucking do anything to you. So don't worry about me being vaccinated. Right? If you're scared to go out in public, let's say in a year that everyone's got to get their vaccination to go out and actually go back to work and actually open up the public, right? And open up the economy again. Well, the people that are scared to death or worried about getting the vaccine or worried about getting the virus and want the vaccine, go get the vaccine. Those of us who don't want the vaccine, yes, don't use the excuse. And I'm telling you right now, preemptively, you can't use the excuse that I'm going to do anything to you, because if you get the vaccine, you're safe. I'm not going to do a fucking thing to you if you got the vaccine. So piss off. No need to have to force me to get a vaccine, right? And if there's people like they say, oh, but what about the immunocompromised that can't take vaccines because if they get a vaccination, it can cause harm to them? Because there are some people that actually do suffer negative consequences from having a vaccine. Well, then if those people can't go out in public because they can't have a vaccine, well, it's really bad. I feel terrible for those people. But those are the people that you need to isolate from the public. Those are the ones that are vulnerable. Those are the ones you protect. You don't protect the vulnerable or the ones that are have their immune system compromised by forcing me to have a vaccination. You protect them by keeping them isolated. That's how you protect them. I've said this multiple times before, but yeah, I can't hammer home enough this pretense, because like I say, you just know that they're going to use this as a pretense for forced vaccination. Or at least I believe. It looks like the stream's still working, folks. It looks like it kind of cut out a little bit there for me, though. We got more from Martin Luther than we ever got from any pope. Yeah. This is not China. Trudeau is not going to keep us in the house for 24 months, thanks to the people who voted for Trudeau. Frank Degnaud. This is not China. Trudeau is not going to keep us in our house. Actually, China's already lifted, right? From what I'm hearing, actually, China, in just a couple short months, already lifting a lot of the restrictions, even in where it started in the first place, in Wuhan, or whatever that province is called. So actually, China, well, your faith in Trudeau will be probably proven to be the wrong mentality to take. Or it should destroy your faith in Trudeau if you believe that Trudeau will not try to keep us. I mean, he's making the threat already. He's already making the threat. I've already read the article if you weren't here earlier on, but I've already read where Trudeau is threatened. So that's just the reality until there's a vaccine. When Trudeau's saying that nothing's going to change, we're going to have to remain in lockdown until there's a vaccine, and when those who are, the ones that are trying to create a vaccine are saying that a vaccine is about 12 to 18 months out, well, 2 + 2 = 4, right? I didn't create that narrative. I didn't just come up with that on my own, right? I'm just reporting on what your thought leaders and Justin Trudeau himself saying. So there's that. He is probably the most despicable person I've ever seen. Oh, I agree with you there, Mikey Jenkins. Trudeau's a piece of crap. Oh, I see there's 40 watching. That's nice to see. We got a few people. Actually, how long have I been going there, folks? 84 minutes, 85 minutes ago. So I don't want to go too long. Like I say, I'm going to keep doing my streams, but I'm trying to get through these things. And like I say, so I did cover some of the economic aspects, but there's so much to cover. But yet I always try to get through the comments here. Also note that government allowed spraying of insects and, okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that stuff. Bill and Linda Gates, okay, Rogers activated. The role as a feminist left the pixie dust wanted dictator when he groped Rise Night at BC event, but he experienced it differently. 5G is only an issue because Huawei is installing it. Mystic, that was an anthrax simulant documented. Okay. The smoke gun is that these viruses that hurt 5G, everyone's all wanting to get into the 5G stuff. All right. Like I say, do it amongst each other because I'm just scrolling right by that. Unless a vaccine is already in the works or available, problem reaction, pre-planned solution, MSM and government couldn't sell a vaccine made in a rapid fashion between government and corporations. Mosquitoes are going to be carrying the coronavirus. Actually, I heard, just say up yours, actually I heard that mosquitoes can't carry the virus. So there's that. Shaky Pete, the resemblance is amazing. Yeah, I don't really care if, that's the thing. I don't know why you can't, if Justin is Castro's son, like what the fuck would it matter? Like people just always love, does the gossiping, like true or not, it's what they're doing. Like, I don't know. Gossip seems to just rule. 5G and 60 gigahertz kills everything by removing the oxygen from anything living. It also does not have to be full spectrum to be able to kill. Like I was pointing out there earlier there, Ronald, that like there's no 5G in a lot of the provinces. Like I know on the East Coast, 5G is not prevalent in any of the provinces. And there's people with that are getting getting this virus. So I don't know. I'm not sure if you're saying that 5G, well, probably not. Like I said, that's the first thing I'm seeing of you, but I'm just, like I say, it just seems like a lot of people are trying to say that it's the 5G towers that are causing the virus. It's like, I just don't know how that's helpful. Don't know how that's helpful at all. You need to settle down. Getting angry doesn't help. You attack 5G, but it goes further than the radio waves, even in 2G. Or we are polluted by this in general. 5G makes it worse. I'm not saying that 5G is good or bad. Like to me, it's just I don't know how else to clarify this. It's not to suggest that either anyone's right or wrong. I'm just saying that ask yourself, like if you tell your neighbors that it's 5G that's causing all this, how does that stop big government from doing what? I'm just curious, how do you get from point A to B to C, right? So how do you use the 5G thing? I mean, if you figure something out that I just haven't, then let me know and I'll bring you onto the channel anytime. Hey, and like I admit, there's lots of areas that I'm not knowledgeable in, right? I'll admit I claim ignorance on things like such as this 5G thing. And if someone wants to come on the channel and you actually have some credibility, right? Where you can show that that's somehow if Canadians realize that 5G, let's say you could somehow prove that 5G is causing this. But Trudeau is still saying that 5G is okay to bring this country. People still believe that Trudeau is their political authority. So what the hell would it even mean? Like, what would any of this mean? Like I say, you got to know how to get to the root core of the cause why Canadians would allow, whether it's 5G is the virus that came from China because it came from animals like a bat or something that somehow ended up in the human population. Where the source originated, how is that, like, no matter what source it comes from, how does that give us back our liberties? Knowing the source, how does that change anything? And because the government would just, whether the government said it came from 5G or not, they would still be doing what they're doing. Like they would still find ways to use authoritarianism because that's what they do. So whether, like I say, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. Stuff like that is just so, because what it is, it sounds like what it comes down to me is we're on a ship. It's called, instead of call it the Titanic, it's called a country called Canada. Not only has it hit the iceberg a long time ago, but it's been fucking pulling into water. It's been fucking taking on water for a long time. it's not only is it leaning and tilting to the side, the whole back end of the ship is starting to submerge underwater. And people are like, well, was it the iceberg that hit the ship? Or, maybe there's big giant sharks down in the ocean that have metal armor on them, and they're the ones that caused the leak, right? It's like, okay. Can we forget about how the fucking leak happened at this point in time, right? We can do some investigation and some research later, or maybe just send a few people out to do that, like those investigators. Send a few people out to figure that out. If it was these big giant sharks with massive amounts of double-walled or triple-thick-walled steel armor on them, that's why that. But can we fucking worry about the fact that we're on a sinking ship that at some point in time is going to be all completely underwater and there's no lifeboats, right? or very few lifeboats. That to me, like I don't know if by using these kind of metaphors it can help explain to you what kind of mindset I'm in. Is like, I get there's lots of reasons that some of this stuff could be happening. Just same with the economic crash. People have all kinds of theories as to why the crash happened. But can we just deal with the things that did happen, the things that we do know, that we are knowledgeable on, and how the hell do we get out from underneath it? How will we get off the ship, right? Well, what I would suggest if I was on the ship is like, okay, there are some things on the ship that were built out of wood. I bet you there's some tools down below. I bet you there's some hammers. Can we find some screws in there? Can we build another smaller ship? If we don't have enough lifeboats, well, can we at least, instead of trying to figure out what put the hole in the ship, maybe we should be spending some time building smaller little boats? Or firing out some way that will survive when the ship does go underwater? Can we try to figure that out now at some point in time, right? Like I say, leave a few people to go off and figure out, what happened that created the hole in the ship in the first place. Go for it. I'm all with you there, because I'd like to know myself. Inquiring minds definitely want to know. But like I say, how are we going to save ourselves from the sinking ship? That's all it comes down to at the end of the day, folks. So like I say, not that I'm against that. And I guess that's why a lot of the people like this, and I'll probably lose some of you for subscribers or views or whatever, but I don't even mind. Because like I really would, if that's what you want to bring, like, I don't know, is talk about that. There are definitely channels that would love that. Like they would love that kind of interaction. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. I'm all for people doing their thing. I just, like, for me, I just don't see how it brings anything to the table that's going to be really genuinely beneficial. Anyways, moving on. Torches and pitchforks coming Trudeau's way. Well, we'll see. Like I say, I've seen a lot of bad things happen, not just under Trudeau, but hey, it was Harper that bailed out all the banksters, right? Did anyone come for him? It was barely reported on once, and then everyone went about their merry old day. So do I have a whole lot of faith in Canadians, right? Or think about all the military men, right? And some of them that have the YouTube channels, how they hate on Trudeau. They hate him so much, and they're always making these like open threats. Have any of those people ever stepped up the plate to do anything, right? Nope. So even the people that claim to have, that are trained or competent, right? Supposed to be all about protecting this country from foreign threats or even domestic, or are any of these people even willing to step outside their comfort zones or risk their paycheck to hold Trudeau to account? No, not at all. You're not seeing that at all, are you? So, like I say, or the people in the RCMP or the police force in this country. I mean, there's lots of things that Trudeau has done that would be considered illegal, illegitimate, unjust, immoral. Is anybody going even through the legal means to arrest him or to charge him for any high crimes or like down in Trump, they tried to charge Trump with like high crimes and misdemeanors and ran him through the impeachment. Is there anything at all by anyone, like the judicial class in this country, right? The Senate, the sober second thought, like I say, CSIS, the police forces, anybody trying to hold Trudeau to account? Anybody? These are the people that are actually in a much better position to do so than you or I, right? Are they any of those doing it? Nah, not a bit. None of them, right? So, like I say, I have to function on the actual reality that I live in. And I realize that, nope, Canadians are I expect most Canadians will put up with this, and we're all going to have to put up with it because the rest of our fellow Canadians are going to put up with it. They want to keep us, like I say, they recognize their own economic and social enslavement, and those people, misery loves company. They want us to be right there along with them. Do you trust government and mainstream media? I don't know who you're asking that question to, Jonah Curie. Hey, by the way, if you haven't already, everyone, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. But yeah, do I trust government and mainstream? Not a bit. Not a bit. Not one iota. And it doesn't matter, federal government, provincial government, because they're all liars. Why? Because they pretend that they are your legitimate ruler. And they pretend that theft is okay as long as they call it taxation. And they pretend that they can control, everything you do because they say they're allowed to do so because they're part of the government. These are people, like I say, these are people that are completely willing to override or ignore the restrictions that restrains the rest of us, right, from using force, violence, coercion, or theft against anyone. These are people that are willing to say, but I'm allowed to do it. So do I trust anyone that's saying nobody should be able to use preemptive force, violence, or theft towards their fellow man or woman, but yet we can? I'm allowed to do it. Would I trust someone that tells me that? Hell no. Right? Nope. So how do we stop any... Oh, the same question once again. The test doesn't test for COVID. Oh, I see someone using my name. Ben Love. No, you won't lose me, Canadian. Oh, I like freedom. Right on. Did I say anything to you? I don't remember if I say anything necessarily to you. I like freedom. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to start from the bottom here and kind of go that way because herd immunity. Hey, they're our greatest ally. Actually, no, if I go backwards, it's going to really screw everything up. So, correlation does not always mean causation. I watched a clip on Global News today, and just a bit was too much. I can't imagine what people who glue themselves to the 24-hour news cycle are thinking. Actually, that's a good point there, AJ. That's the thing. I don't have any cable. But actually, yeah, they're offering all that stuff for free. You know what? Just for the hell of it, I don't know how I'll do it. It's hard enough to deal with it when you're just reading it in text form, but I'll try to set myself up and maybe watch one of those 24-hour news channels because I haven't watched like CNN, MSNBC, or yeah, that's it, right? Yeah. CTV, CBC, all those 24. I haven't watched those for years, but yeah, maybe I'll have to sit down and maybe, because I'm sure it'd be quite striking because like even the stuff they're putting in print is pretty wild to see what they would be willing to do on those 24-hour news channels, which is basically like just, it's like a 24-hour tabloid. Remember back in the day, anyone that's old enough to realize or remember like the Inquirer or the Globe, all those, the aliens landed and one impregnated Elvis's wife, or I don't know, but or Elvis is still alive, all those crazy things. That's what 24-hour news channels basically come across to me nowadays, is they've taken the tabloid style way of reporting on things and they've implemented it into a 24-hour news channel. Did you say something? Oh, they're still around. Yeah, I don't know. I guess people still like that shit. Like, I guess, right? Lots of people like that are plants. Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm sure there's probably even plants in terms of government hacks that want to see what people like myself are saying, right? Self-defense is a basic right. 100% it is. It is. And you don't need anyone to tell you that. Everyone should just know that, right? Of course. You have a right to defend yourself. $100,000 fine. Good luck collecting. Yeah, right. Exactly, right. What the hell? Lots of people. Okay, my parents grew up during the war in Germany. Things can go south very quickly. I don't doubt that for a minute, John Ziegelbauer. And yeah, that's what I'm worried about most. Son of Rambo. Hey, kids, what's going on? Strive for truth. Lockdown for 6 months. All they're saying, well, what Trudeau's saying, if you're just new to the stream, is he's saying get ready or prepare for this to go until there's a vaccine. And from what I'm hearing from those who are talking about the vaccine is that could be anywhere from 12 to 18 months out. No economy by then. Yeah, well, not the kind of economy, not a free market, or actually, it hasn't been a genuine free market economy, but capitalism, the last bastions, the last vestiges of capitalism, yeah, they're going to be eroded to the point, yeah, where it seems like a larger and larger percentage of the population are going to become very conducive with being on the government dole after this. And once they've done it for a while, that kind of stuff gets sticky. people are getting used to getting paid for not having to do a goddamn thing, right? Going to be real difficult. Like, let's say this $2,000 month goes on for longer than the 4 months. Let's say people get used to getting that $2,000 a month from the government every month for a year. Going to be really, really, really difficult to incentivize those people that want to go back into the workforce and make maybe not even that or a little bit more than that, right? So think all the extra shit you got to go through to go to work when you could be sitting home doing whatever the hell you want and collecting that. Like I say, that's how that socialism, that's how that becomes very sticky. That's why people, like I've said so many times, that's why countries that go that route, it's really, 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 really difficult to get out from underneath of that, right? Usually it requires, a whole lot of pain, deaths, devastation, and destruction, which is why I've been trying to warn Canadians for years and years and years. Please, 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 can we stop heading down this fucking road? This road, this path, it has a final destination, folks, and it's the full-on economic and social enslavement of an entire population of people, which causes so much harm, like I say, and has destroyed proper incentives. But Canadians have been, like I say, whistling past the grave or whistling Dixie, and basically when I've been saying them, it's like, shut up, Bennett. Stop fucking trying to burst the bubble I'm living in. Hey, fuck off. What, are you just trying to bring me down, man? Yeah, you just take your bullshit negativity and you go away, right? Well, like I said, the day's going to come where a lot of Canadians are going to really wish that they were listening to people like me a long time ago. I'll still be here saying, told you so, motherfuckers. Told you so, motherfuckers. No, I won't even do the told you so thing. I'll just be happy to know that people at least finally, hopefully, start to get into a better mindset and thinking about these, because the told you so, yeah, that's not really much of a benefit, because if I get to the point where I'm saying I told you so, then that means, yeah, I'm living in a country that's so fucked up now that none of us are going to be doing great, right? Everyone will be unemployed and starving, looking for government to save them. Yeah, look at how many Canadians are already headed towards that. They're not even waiting for the few months to see if they can hold out for a few months. It just took, government's going to offer some more rampant wealth and income redistribution. And Canadians are substantial. Millions of Canadians were already like, oh, fuck, I want it now. Not even going to try to hold off, not even try to put on this false pretense that, oh, I'm okay. No, I'm doing okay. I'll be able to make it for at least a month or two. Not like these people, give me now, quick, right? You fucked yourself up. You put yourself in some pretty precarious spots if you're one of those people. That you're this quick to run into the government's arms. Like, damn. Everyone will be, okay, AJ, they're trying to get people to agree with the insanity so they can bust you later down the road. Yep. Hey, what's going on, D. Lee? Hey, CL, needed the day off work. Got there, chain broke on the machine. Got the day off, right on. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Happy Good Friday. That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Give yourself some time, to spend not just watching my channel, which I do appreciate that, but you give you lots of the rest of the day to do some of the things that you want to get done, right? So good for you. Good for you, D. Lee. Glad to hear it. Use your threatening energy towards actual petition the government and changing laws. Yeah, like exactly. Like, and I would even suggest not necessarily just threaten, just use your energy, right? That's every bit of energy you got. Like I say, there's lots of things that you can do that can help. And to me, the biggest thing we can do is, like I say, get our fellow Canadians up to speed about this kind of stuff. Getting them to think about these things instead of just watching that 24-hour news channel that's giving them the wrong information. Because Canadians, some of them will make better decisions if they have the right information, but they're going to make the wrong decision if they're only given the information. Like, they're going to make the decisions that their thought leaders are going to want them to make. And I'm saying that's a bad decision. A lot of bad decision for a lot of people. And they need to hear some information so that they're thinking about these things more critically. In the absence of that information, though, they're going to make some wrong decisions, no doubt in my mind. I feel bad for everyone who watches and takes the media seriously. Yeah, me too. Flights are still coming in from China, but Canadians are on lockdown. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt they still are. The about face, like, they were allowing, like I say, $20,000 every week. 20,000 of them come from China every week. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, then they reversed course and said they're going to. But like once you've let in 80,000 people, like that's a substantial number already. So a little late, right? Petition is a waste of time and good luck changing laws. Yeah, we only have non-compliance. Most Canadians blame Trump and not China for this. Well, that's because most Canadians, as you realize, AJ, listen to fucking CBC and CTV and these dipshits and the media that just hates Trump, right? Like they want to blame everything on Trump or the coronavirus. No one wants to own up to everyone's personal responsibility for getting themselves, whether it's the political class, the media class, or all those Canadian statists that live among us. No one wants to hold up the mirror to themselves and acknowledge that, oh shit, I contributed to this as well. No, they're looking for a scapegoat, folks. And their scapegoat is Trump and the coronavirus. Yeah, Canadian intelligence knew how bad it was going to get in January. Yeah, I saw that too. Just say up yours. I saw that actually. It was, I believe, let me just check real quick. Did I already scroll by that? No, but I did see that here. I'm just going to. It's taking a while to load here. Yeah, Canadian CBC, of course, is probably reported by a few outlets. Canadian Military Intelligence Unit issued warning about Wuhan outbreak back in January. So yes, it was known. It was much easier then to prepare for this stuff, to, like I say, to prevent those flights, or at least if you're going to allow the flight to continue, to at least quarantine or check these people out, like have some kind of way of screening them. I mean, that's what they're trying to do now. Like I say, a little too late, but apparently that information was readily available. But from what other people are saying, and I would tend to agree with, it's all about the political optics. Oh, we don't want to come across as being xenophobes in any way, right? It was all about political optics. So they played politics with Canadians' lives and their economic futures, right? That's a big deal. Yeah, temporary workers are coming in too to work on the farms. And just like they were saying about this in the U.S., I forget which program I was watching yesterday, but it was talking about this in regards to the U.S. too, is they're bringing in and basically unvetted, right? A lot of them are coming in unvetted because they desperately need for like these agricultural jobs or picking fruits or all these things, right? But meanwhile, there are millions of Americans out of jobs. But what it is these corporations are just like in Canada, the farmers of the dairy, right? They're all used to government, central planning and price fixing and all those controls. Yeah, sure, there are a lot of Canadians and Americans, right? Even before the Wuhan, because there's 30-some% of the population, adult population, that are not part of the active participation in the job force, right? When they do, like I say, when they bring up those unemployment numbers or those employment numbers every month, it also comes with the participation rate. And because there's 30+% of the population that doesn't work, even without the Wuhan, or depending on what the unemployment levels, like I say, there's always enough people in our countries, U.S. or Canada, to fill these jobs. What it is, though, is they want to be able to pay dirt cheap, basically slave labor wages to the people that do these jobs or these tasks, and they don't want to adopt or adapt to using new technologies, right, or machinery or automation to do it. So they want to still use like old, like 19th century technologies or practices for their farming practices, right? So they're not adopting to new technologies, and they don't want to pay an actual livable wage. Well, that's a failure already. And the reason why they're unwilling to hire Canadians that are now unemployed, or the Americans that are now unemployed, is because those Canadians and Americans are like, no, I'm not going to work for like what, $4 an hour or whatever the fuck they pay these people, right? Like, no, I want minimally like minimum wage or something along those lines, right? Or depending on how difficult the work is, it might be more than that, right? Once again, that would be a negotiation under a free market. The negotiation would be, how much is the wages worth? Well, however much people are willing to pay and however much people are willing to work for. That's how you find out what the proper wage would be, is what are people willing to voluntarily agree and do in that contract, right? If I agree that I'll do it at $15 an hour and the employer says, okay, I can afford to pay you $15 an hour, then that wage is $15 an hour. Don't need a central planner to figure that shit out, right? It's just called negotiating, right? It's called bargaining. And you don't need collective bargaining either. I'll bargain for myself. That collective bargaining is like, wait, now that guy that works with me, he doesn't work half as much as I do. Why would I want collective bargaining? Why do I want to bargain for the fucking guy's wages? That's a problem with unions. Why the hell would I want to have collective bargaining? Bargain for this guy's wages when meanwhile he's the one that takes a smoke break every 5 minutes and I do twice as much work in the run of the way that he does. I'm not fucking bargaining with his wages, nor do I want us to be paid the same. This guy sucks ass. I do a whole lot more work. I should be paid more, right? That's the problem with this one size fits all. That's a problem with unions, big government. Well, I repeat myself, right? There's a reason why they call it the Soviet Union, right? Anyways, yeah. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about, AJ. But yeah, the temporary workers, this bullshit where they just don't, there's just no one in Canada that can pick fucking vegetables or something. Yeah, right? It's such a difficult test. You can't train people to do that, right? And like I say, these people could be coming in with the virus. Why do you need to bring more people? Anyways, it's just all fucking retarded, like I say. It's all to give corporations that slave labor, right? And I personally, like I say, I'd be more than willing to pay a little bit more for whatever. But that's the thing. How that would work out is if I was getting the proper wages. Because people say, oh, yeah, but if we pay more wages, then the cost of everything will increase. Yeah, but if we're all getting proper wages, right? See, you can't make that argument stick if someone actually, like myself, that actually understands market economics. You can't make the argument that, oh, if we just raise the price of everyone's wages, it'll raise the price of the cost of everything. Well, think about it. Wages have been stagnant for decades. Hasn't prevented the cost of all the things that we consume to raise, has it? So you're already getting that anyways. So to make that argument, well, first of all, like I say, and then on the flip side of that argument, as long as our wages are outstripping inflation, we're always gaining purchasing power. That's all it really comes down to at the end of the day, is the measure, the proper measurement, are your wages, or is it false stimulated inflation? Because that false stimulated inflation comes as a result of devaluing the purchasing power. I'd love to see me some real, genuine inflation in terms of our wages. Because if we had genuine inflation in terms of our wages, in comparison or contrast to the price of all the products or services we use, then we've gained purchasing power. Like I say, but as I understand, well, I mean, AJ knows this to a certain degree somewhat, and I'm sure some of the people in this chat, but what was it? 80-some% of women, and what was it again? I'm trying to remember the numbers. 15% of women, I think it was 22% of men. So less than one in 5 women and roughly just over 1 in 5 men, so it's still fairly close, that actually understands proper economics or finances. So that means 80% or 4 in 5 Canadians don't fucking understand economics at all. So of course they don't understand what I'm saying, which is why, like I say, and if they're never going to get this information, obviously they've made it this far in their life and they haven't learned this, they're not going to get it anytime soon unless they're hearing it from people like myself, which is why, once again, I can't help but point out how important it is to share people like myself's video. Let these people learn these things and let them start at least going down that rabbit hole where they want to gain some knowledge, because that's what I did. That's what AJ did. That's what I imagine all you folks do too. Is it took a little tidbit of information. It took a little bit of something to pique your curiosity for you to at least want to learn or expand your knowledge on that topic. So we have to do what we can to get the people who are the ill-informed, the ignorant, or the economically illiterate. We've got to get those people up to speed, at least, like I say, by dipping their toes in the water, by, like I say, helping spread this kind of information to them. Dr. Shiva does a great job at dispelling the myth of herd immunity. Hey, babe, did you check the fire? Cool. Temporary workers are coming in too to work on the front. Oh, yeah, I saw that. Illegal immigrants with COVID still allowed to cross into Canada. Well, that's the thing. Actually, I haven't seen Keen or whatever, the Rebel News guy. I'd actually be curious to know. I'll actually probably try to look that up. How is that border thing? Because Trudeau was supposed to have tried to close down that border. But I would really be curious. I would love to know. And hopefully a Rebel reporter or maybe post-millennial. At least, like I say, at least Rebel, they get paid. Post-millennial gets paid. Like they're at True North. Like those people all at least get paid. So the ones that actually are the alternative media sources in this country who get paid and actually have like generate some revenue. Yeah, some of you folks should be down there checking the border. What's going on here? Like get someone down there, especially like I say, if you could pay their expenses. Which, I mean, if they're in Canada, I mean, it's going to cost a little bit, right? But, you know, if you have an actual viable business model, and it seems like Post-Millennial and True North probably does, Yeah, get someone down there. Get someone down there. And Rebel, I mean, well, obviously Rebel has a business model. They earn revenue, and they got 1 million subscribers. They get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views on their videos. So like they are at least generating some kind of revenue. So yeah, spend a little bit on that. Get Kean down there, get a few people down there, and get Canadians up to speed. We could really use this information because once again, this knowledge is very powerful. And knowing what's going on down the border would allow me, at the very least, to report on things with actual evidence, because I won't speculate. I need actual evidence. So yeah, if anyone knows anyone out there, or if you yourself has some money at your disposal, yeah, rather than even donating to me, take that money that you have and go down there and do some reporting yourself. If you got a smartphone, you can be a reporter because your smartphone comes with a camera and a microphone. So you can record that stuff. You can upload it to the internet. You can send it to other people to upload it to their channels. But yeah, if there's anyone out there that wants to, take the time of their day and find out what is going on with the border, yeah, I would definitely like to know. And I'm sure there's quite a few people in this chat would like to know as well. Thanks for bringing that up there, Eugene Harder, by the way. Just watching the daily press conference and reducing my IQ. It will do that. Be careful. Don't watch the news too long because it's almost like your brain cells start to escape it through your ears just while they're like, get me out of here. I can't take it. Okay. Time for my 20 push-ups. Right on. Every hour, keep it, people. Yeah, definitely, especially if you're stuck in the house and stuff. I got a little tiny mini gym down in my basement. It's not a huge thing, but I've got pretty much most what I need if I need to use it. Or like you even, just some push-ups and, I like doing some dips. Dips are great for the triceps, right? And do some curls for the biceps. Yeah, keep yourself, whatever you got to do if you're stuck indoors, because keeping your health up is definitely important, not just for the COVID, but for your long-term health and for your future, right? We want to try to outlive some of these statuses if we can. Hey, if we can only outlive all those status, we'll get our paradise, right? All people suffer from vaccine because mycoplasma can lie dormant for years. Once again, stuff that's outside of my pay range, or I don't know much about, so I'll kind of move on from that. Correlation does not always mean causation. Agreed. Watched a clip of Global News today, and that did too much. I can't imagine when people... Oh, how did I get way back up there again? You're correct. Trudeau is a sociopath. I would probably say sociopath. China's trying to buy up companies... I'm an atheist. I don't need to be locked down because vaccine not for me anyways. Sweet baby Jeebus. Economy will be toast if not opened up until end of April. Well, I mean, it's already taking shit kicking. They're already saying that. But like I say, it can change. That's the thing. We can get back. We can bring the economy back if it doesn't go too long. My problem is, like I say, if people become too accustomed to this. That's my biggest fear at this particular point in time. Is the longer this plays out, the more accustomed people will come to this new normal, right? And I don't want people to become... I'm already fucking devastated at this quasi new normal that people have been living in since the first crash, the .com, and then the financial crisis of 2008. But to see this new normal get ramped up to the degree that it is now, which is completely outstripped than anything that even happened under the 9/11 attacks, the .com crash, or the financial crisis. What's happening now is orders of magnitude even more so than what happened during those or subsequent to those events taking place. So, yeah, I'm very fearful of people getting very accustomed to this kind of new normal. Because like I say, there's already a lot of Canadians that are kind of on the precipice of accepting full-on socialism or communism, whatever you want to call it, authoritarian collectivism. If you have savings in the bank, get it out now. Yeah, don't put shit in the bank. I definitely wouldn't, because you got to remember too, and thanks for bringing that up, Gary, because they have a bail-in regime. It's built right into the legislation in this country now that it's a bail-in regime. Not a bailout, bail-in, which means if you have money in your account, now usually they're going to leave the small savings, they say they're going to leave you alone, but can you really trust them? But as it is, the way it's written as it is, if you have any substantial savings in your bank account, they can come for you. And it's, like I say, it's already written in the law that they can. So the fact that they've already got that law there Just like the Emergency Act, do you think they're not willing to use it? I wouldn't trust them. 1 in 3 small businesses are projected not to reopen. The only ones left will be major corporations like Walmart who are allowed to stay open. Yeah. Dimebag Doug has been doing a bang-on job impersonating Paul Bear lately. First time I witnessed him doing manual labor lifting. Not sure who that is. Corporate technocracy, yeah. Strive for truth. Everyone will be broke and begging for a minimum wage job at Walmart. Predator class consolidation of power with a few huge corporations left state in new total control. Yeah. Federal Reserve Bank. Yeah. The stats from COVID deaths are 10 times higher. Well, we don't know, really. There's no way any of us can know. Please provide actual proof that Justin is Castro's son. The bloodline conspiracy. Neoliberalism was on the way out with the world public. Why not make a false flag or further their goals? It's all possible. All about proof. Anyone could say anything but back it with facts. Yeah. As informed of YouTube. UK Dr. John Campbell has informed of YouTube videos. Thank you for the head up. Just say up yours. How can 75% Canadians be supporting Trudeau on this crisis? The power of indoctrination. Check and overlay on the outbreaks in 5G. Okay. His approval ratings are way up. I know, right? What the hell? The airline Bennett. Mosquitoes along with cockroaches and other bugs will carry it. Mark my words, the mosquitoes carry the West Nile virus, so there's that. Doesn't mean, yeah, but the West Nile virus, like I say, I would just say, and I can't even say with 100% certainty, but I would just say, unless you know for certainty, and there's probably a pretty good chance that you don't know with 100% certainty, is just don't make a truth statement, hypothetical, like, and scenarios and your opinion, and I'm all for it, but just I would try to avoid trying to present anything as factual or truthful if you don't know it like 100% with 100% certainty, or at least a substantial amount of certainty, right? Can a banana? Because the media attacks everyone who criticizes them. Yeah. Why many? Kanakistan, Tommy Gunn. If the opposition was saying what Max is saying, his support would be lower. But they don't use the platform they have. And yes, my mentioning Max will trigger people, but it's true. I don't get triggered by anything as far as that. Because, yeah, Maxime is definitely better than all the alternatives out there. I retweet some of his tweets that I see. I still follow him on Twitter and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, I say Maxime's going to say at least some decent things. He's definitely much, much better than anyone else. I agree with you there, AJ. Well, except for Tim Moen. In terms of leaders of political parties in this country, Tim Moen is the guy that I not just have a tremendous amount of respect for, and not just obviously because he's a libertarian as well, but because even if you listen to him, he's not just a libertarian, he's a paramedic firefighter. So he's already someone that's in the health field. He's actually pretty knowledgeable, somewhat knowledgeable obviously in the health field. And he's also like, a dad himself, right? And he's got daughters that are in the healthcare field. So he's got lots of vested interest himself. And if you haven't checked out his channel, it's Tim Moen Liberty Journey. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to it because, yeah, he's only got, I think not even 2,000 subscribers. And like I say, the stuff he puts out is much, much more articulate, gets to the point. It's not political rhetoric. For the most part, it's philosophical, understanding and human knowledge. And like I say, he's a really knowledgeable guy, right? So yeah. But of course, not like anyone's going to be just like with me. We're libertarians, so we're often overlooked and ignored, right? Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure if Maxime actually identified as libertarian rather than identifying as conservative, he'd be ignored even more so. Like I say, people in this country don't genuinely want to hear the truth. They'll take a little bit of it in little doses. If you play the political game with them, you might be able to get a little bit to them in little tiny bits of doses, but most Canadians don't want to hear the truth outright. It's scary to them, right? Because then it destroys. Think about it. It literally destroys everything that they believe in. Not a lot of people want to go through that transition. That makes us, that makes us quite unique, right? If you're willing to go through that kind of transition and have all those things that you normally believed in destroyed, that puts you like, that makes you a brave person. That makes you someone that obviously has some critical thinking skills. That means that you're someone that is obviously in the pursuit of knowledge and truth, because it means you're willing to have all the mystical beliefs jammed in your head destroyed, which it's not easy. As most of you probably know, it's not easy to go through that change. It's hard. I know it was difficult for me. Epoch Times Wuhan documentary escaped from a bioweapon lab. I haven't seen anything like that. Actually, that's one thing YouTube said, is you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that the government's created a bioweapon. That's part of the requirements on YouTube if you want to monetize your channel. Oh, shit. I forgot to monetize this, didn't I? Crap. Got a little quick out of the gate there. Let me see if I can't go ahead and fix that up right now. Might as well. Because, yeah, I want to get my few bucks if I can. Right? Like to pay the bills if I can. But yeah. Actually, what were we talking about here? Oh yeah. Not allowed to say stuff like that. There are certain things that we are restricted, because I get the message, right? There are things we're restricted from saying if you want to monetize your channel or have your video monetized or your stream. Where did that go? Oh, I see. I didn't have to do it that way. I did not have to do it that way at all. I could have did it this way instead. How are we doing for time here? Let me check on the time. Oh, yeah, we're 2 hours. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to have to start to wrap it up here soon. Okay, I'll worry about doing this monetized thing later then. We'll worry about that later. Okay, scrolling down, try to get through some of the comments here. Follow money, always look at where the money's come from. CSIS used to try, but they didn't have any power. I'll be checking that out. I already saw it, but I didn't click on it yet. Going to contact pre-birth. Oh, that scrolled past. Hey, what's going on, Gato? It is a tool used by authoritarians now that want to force a chip, and everyone used the COVID scare. People have gone psycho over an imaginary virus. It's not good. This is an emergency. Not afraid. I would just find it annoying like any flu, but I'm not scared. Yeah, I'm not scared. Like, if I ended up contacting it, like, am I scared that I'm going to die or anything? No. Thank you for the heads up. I just subscribed to Tim's channel. Right on. Good. Thanks for doing that, Damien Quinn. Yeah, like Tim, like I say, you'll see. And he does a regular program now, a little podcast that he does with his friend. His name's David. And, yeah, they cover some great topics. All, of course, dealing with liberty and stuff. So, yeah, thanks for doing that. Jake, yes, there's a limit for 1 month because they don't want any shortage of drugs. Okay. Baking soda in your teeth will be fine. I would be more worried of getting C in any hospital. C. difficile? Not even sure what that is. AHS reported the outbreak at the Curling in Edmonton where dentists were infected. Yeah, I heard about that. CNN has Hillary at 95% chance of winning. Yeah, think about all the Bernie bros too, right? The Bernie bros down in the States. Yeah. They got nothing now. Hey, if you're a Bernie bro and you're an American, you might want to, if you want to pick the lesser of the evils, you might want to vote for Trump because you definitely don't want to bring Biden in. Like, that's just to bring back the old paradigm, the old establishment, right? That's what they want there. They'll prop him up just like Weekend at Bernie's. You folks ever see Weekend at Bernie's? Even if Joe Biden ends up, get them in power so that they can do whatever the hell they want. Because like I say, it's the deep state and it's that entrenched bureaucratic establishment that they want to sustain. They don't care who the hell they got to prop up as the president, right? Okay, just like I say, I'm just checking out Jake Fillmore. Luke, my son waited 2 months to have abscess tooth. Ooh, yeah, that can be painful. 1 hour before appointment, they canceled. He's been on antibiotics for 4 months. Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, and because antibodies are nice to have when you need them, but if your body constantly relies on antibodies, then it's not producing its own, and it can actually compromise your own immune system. I'm not a doctor, but that's just basically from what I understand, from what I've heard that people are doctors and competent in their positions, is I don't think you would want, like, that doesn't sound good to be on antibiotics for 4 months, because then maybe, shortly after taking them, it's going to take a while for the body to build back up its own natural immune and antibodies itself, and then maybe place them in a much more vulnerable position, right? So I don't know. Yeah, that's probably not good. But once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dentist, so don't take any of my advice when it comes to that stuff. Always question things, for sure. The sports channels are more entertaining now. Those are taters. Anyways, folks, okay. Try using the tire money at Loblaws. Oh, Canadian Tire money? At some point in time, it might be Canadian Tire money might actually be on par with Canadian dollar. Trade in at parity, right? Who knows? The Canadian dollar has definitely been destroyed and devalued so much that it's getting to the point where that might very well turn out to be the case. Anyways, like I say, folks, I'm going to probably tie this stream up. I did have a little bit more to cover, but like I say, not like this is going to be my last stream. I'll save it for the next one. Like I said, I try to balance it out so that I'm covering the topics and articles, but at the same time, I like to get to all of your folks' comments, make this more interactive and engaging. And maybe the next one, plus I want to try to bring some positivity too, so maybe the next stream or two, like I said, I'm going to try to figure it out where not just talk about things in such a negative way, because it is very negative, but like I say, try to bring some positivity to the table as well. And I'm going to try to keep that balanced out for all of my streams. I'm going to try to keep confined within the rules that's allowed, but still be able to expand on the knowledge and the information that I think is mostly important for people to hear in this particular time. But at the same time, like I say, keeping people in a little bit better mindset rather than feeling that the sky is falling and there's no way to get out from underneath this, because that's just definitely not a good place to put yourself in, mentally or psychologically. So like I say every day, and particularly today, it's a long weekend, Easter weekend. Make sure you're enjoying your weekend with your loved ones, with your family. Spend that time. Maybe spend a little bit of the day talking about this stuff, because you're definitely going to have these conversations. But then put a substantial portion of your day or your weekend aside to just enjoy each other's company. Experience that love, that companionship, that maybe with your friends, right? That camaraderie with your friends and stuff, or whatever you got to do. But put some things in perspective too, right? Your personal life, all the things that matter most to you, right? Your loved ones, your children, your parents, your grandparents. Like I say, this is a good weekend to put some of the most important things into perspective and not necessarily let yourself get down in the doldrums or down the dumps as a consequence of this, because this will come, this will go. We're all going to make, well, not all, but most of us, I would say, we're going to make it out of this not unscathed. But, what don't kill you will only make you stronger, which means a lot of us are going to be gaining some strength in a not so distant future, right? So like I say, stay positive, keep your mind in a good place, keep your loved ones close, do what you're doing. Like I say, lead by example out there, do the right thing so you don't have to rely on government telling you what to do. If you're doing the right thing, you don't need anyone to tell you what to do. And like I say, you're leading by example. Do that. Be a leader in your community and show them that, this is what real leadership is. You don't need big government. I'll lead by example. I don't tell you what to do, but I'll show you what's the right thing to do, or what some of the right things are to do. And like I say, that's how we keep big government at bay, is leading by example and showing that we don't need government to tell us what to do, because we're all adults ourselves, and we know how to make some wise decisions on the fly as need be. So like I say, everyone have yourself a great day. We'll see you in the next stream. It's Canadian Libertarian.